Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us for Inside Tulsa Athletics as we continue to follow the athletic programs of both boys and girls in the Tulsa Public Schools. And I think a very interesting show lined up for you today as we're going to be visiting with coaches about football. We're going to be visiting with coaches about basketball. We're going to talk wrestling. And then we're going to have Steve Friebus along, and he's going to bring us up to date from the standpoint of first aid and sports medicine. And we always need to know more about that. Stay with us. We're back in just a moment. We continue inside Tulsa Athletics as we welcome aboard Steve Friebus, who is the sports medicine coordinator of the Tulsa Public Schools. And when you talk about, Steve, all of the different things that come about in athletics anymore on injuries, it's just remarkable how that kids are able to play as long as they do.
Yeah, it seems like the injuries get more in depth, more intense, more diverse, and the different sports. It's unique as we transition from the winter, from the fall sports to the winter. You have football where it's a lot of violent impact injuries. You've got volleyball and cross country where it's overuse injuries, shin splints, sore shoulders. Softball from projectile injuries to sore shoulders, and now we transition to the winter where then we tend to see a lot more knees and ankles, and wrestling, shoulders and arms, and bloody noses and things like that. And people don't realize how long the winter is. I mean, we're just barely in November. We got to go till March for all these, for the conclusion of the winter sports. And so, we want kids to take care of their bodies early on and not, it's just a little soreness in my knee, that shin's a little sore. We want them to report those, to take care of them so, we're not having them have to sit out a week or two in early February, as we're trying to get into playoffs. So, listening to your body, getting the rest you need, getting at home, sleeping, eating properly, doing your homework, taking care of your body. Those day-to-day things, icing the little injuries so they don't become big injuries is real important.
There's something I've been wanting to ask you for a long time. When you take a look at what has happened with the helmets in football, they have been made, I suppose, so safely. But by them being that safe, that allows them to use that as a weapon. Now, am I wrong in all of that?
No, as the helmets have gotten better at dispersing impact, I think it's the athlete feels an invincibility, that I've got this helmet on and it's safer so I can't get hurt, so they're not as afraid to put their head as part of that tackling as trying to make that impact, though the helmet is there to prevent skull fractures and lacerations, not prevent concussions. So. You're right.
But it has given them the opportunity to use that more or less as a weapon that they didn't do before.
If you don't have a helmet on, you're not going to use your helmet to try to hurt,
No.
try to tackle somebody.
No, that's for sure. Weight control, that was something we had made a note of. And what is it on weight control that is so significant in athletics?
So in the past, we're talking about wrestling, and wrestlers used to decide, I want to wrestle this weight class, and there was nobody tell them no or yes or what was safe. And so if a kid thinks they can lose 20 pounds in 10 days, it was crazy. You'd hear these crazy stories about kids starving themselves and running incessantly for 24 hours a day trying to sweat it off. Now, at this time of year, I'm going out to all the different schools, and we do a body composition analysis, and we determine what their body composition is and how much. You don't want to lose muscle, but you want to lose fat. We decide how much fat they can lose and over what time frame. So you might have 30 pounds of fat you can lose, but what's safe is maybe 1 to 2 pounds a week. So you might only over the course of the season be able to lose, 15 of those pounds and not 30 pounds of it. So we're trying to make it a little safer so we don't have these crash diets where they're really doing things detrimental to their bodies. And it's just giving them information. You know, we all tend to have this, if you ask most people around, hey, you like to gain weight or lose weight? And people who say, I want to lose weight, how much? They just have this number in their head that 10 pounds, 15 pounds. But you say, why? Why do you think it's 10 or 15? And they don't have any idea. They've never evaluated what their body composition is. And maybe some of these wrestlers are only at 6% body fat. No, they don't need to lose anymore. They're good. 7% is considered what is the minimum that the National Federation has determined, and so we won't let them go below 7%. So if you're at 10%, if you lost 3% body fat, it would be X amount of pounds. That's what you can safely lose over this amount of time. And so we're trying to do it so it's a steady loss and not a crash loss.
Well, I'll tell you, when you look at all of that, you have a problem in trying to determine what is best for all of them to do.
Right, and so there's a specific set of, we use a particular scale that uses bioelectrical impedance, just measuring an electric signal that's going through their body to determine that body fat. And we put in a calculator on a particular website, and it does all these factoring. Otherwise, I'd be with my slide rule, and I don't know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But it's and we make sure they're hydrated. They have to actually do a urinalysis to make sure that their urine is at a specific gravity. So it's a pretty in-depth test. But we want it. It's for the safety of the athlete. It's for the safety that they don't try to do something detrimental to their body that could have long-term repercussions.
Just a few seconds, but do we have more injuries now than we've had in the past?
The question is whether we have more injuries or are we reporting more injuries.
Good point.
So I'd like to think that at least we're reporting what we have, and so we're keeping track of that. They vary from year to year, but overall, I think we're at least knowing what we're dealing with.
Always a pleasure having you aboard, Steve.
Thank you for having me.
Stay with us when we come back. Jim Harper, head wrestling coach at Edison High School. He will be our special guest. That's next, Inside Tulsa Athletics.
My dad's always saying a little extra effort now will really pay off later. Here's how you can put in just a little extra effort and help out our schools in a big way. Just switch your checking account to TTCU. It's easy, and every time you use your school pride card, TTCU donates to our schools. So far, over $1 million. They're the only ones doing that. So make the switch to TTCU and be the person who's making a difference for our schools.
Stuff. When you don't want it, what do you do with it? Go to tulsarefuse.org. There, you'll learn what to do with stuff you don't know what to do with. Just give us a click. tulsarefuse.org. It's what you do when you don't know what to do with stuff.
Hey, you.
Yeah, you. Getting that college education? What are you gonna do? Graduate and take some office job? Be like everybody else?
Or will you dare do something different?
Like, be a teacher. You could be my teacher. You got the skills.
The smarts?
Yes, you. You could be the teacher I never forget.
That'd be cool.
Does that corporate job even have recess? What are you gonna make of yourself?
What are you gonna make of me?
Welcome back to Inside Tulsa Athletics as we welcome aboard Jim Harper, who is the head wrestling coach at Edison High School. And Coach Harper, always a pleasure having you aboard. And here for the last 8 years, you have been in the top 10 in high school wrestling. That's pretty good, isn't it?
It feels good. We've had a good group of kids come through, and each year we've been fortunate to peak at the right time.
Well, when you find that that is happening, does that help you build the young kids coming through where that maybe they haven't been involved in athletics, but suddenly now they'll become involved in wrestling?
It really does. A lot of the kids in the school that wouldn't normally wrestle are starting to have an interest in it, and some are coming out now because of the success we've had.
Yeah.
So.
Well, talk about your returning wrestlers, those that were successful last year, that looking forward to being more successful this year. Tell our audience about those.
We do have a 2-time returning state placer, Eric Haney. He'll be a junior this year. He could be the first in Edison history to place 4 times, hopefully as a champion. We have a heavyweight, Whitney Aslan, nicknamed Pork Chop. I think he's got a good shot to get to state. We got a young one, Nick Caldwell. Well, he'll be a junior. He's got a good shot. We have several shots in there. It's just a matter of filling in the gaps.
Well, the feeder program, how do you do it in wrestling? I mean, it seems like that there is so much that goes on in the summer for football and for basketball. Now, what do you do in wrestling?
You know, a lot of our kids come from football. Probably 2/3 of our team come from football. And so the workout that we do in football, really we use it for wrestling too through the summer. Now they do some open tournaments and things like that in the summer, but for the most part, it's a weightlifting, conditioning type workout, and we do it alongside football.
When you take a look at wrestling, and in my background, it seemed like it was such a tremendous good sport for the kids that were under 150 pounds because they had an awful hard time in football, they had a hard time in basketball, but where they were out there wrestling someone that weighed the same as they did, it just comes back to their mental preparation.
You know, that first weight is 106, and you got two little guys that are just as quick as they can be going at it. It's competitive. You know, those little guys, they got a chance in wrestling. You know, I know it may be hard for them in football and basketball and other sports, but in wrestling, you go against the person your own size.
Yeah, because a lot of time in football, even if you're a lineman, you may weigh 180 pounds, but there's a 220 guy across the line from you.
That's exactly right.
In wrestling, when you get on the mat, you are wrestling people that weigh within, what, 2 or 3 pounds of one another.
Well, actually, you're right, 2 or 3 pounds at the most. And so it's a very competitive, person-on-person event.
What have you had in the feeder program this past year that you feel like that maybe they won't be looking for the state champion, but at the same time, when they get to be seniors, they could?
You know, we do have some 7th and 8th graders that are very competitive, and I think they could really help us in the next couple of years. And with us putting athletics in the school day in middle school, it's really helping. Our junior high program has went from probably 8 or 9 to 10 up to 25 to 30 now. So it's really benefited our numbers, and it'll show dividends in a couple of years, I think.
Well, talk about your schedule. Talk about the tournaments that you're taking your kids to that you feel will build them to the point to where they've got to look at a state title.
You know, we open up with the Bristow tournament, and it's a very tough tournament. You got teams from all over the nation that come to that tournament. It's very competitive. We've been in the last couple of years, and from there we go to the Ray Nunley Classic. You know, it's a dual tournament at our place. We host, and I think after Christmas we have Catoosa, Bishop Kelly, which it was the Bishop Kelly. Now it's a Glenpool tournament. And I can't remember the 5th one right off the top of my head, but we do have maybe Pryor. But we have 5 tough tournaments, and I try to get in all the 5 and 6A type tournaments to prepare us for regionals. And
the Ray Nunley tournament, Ray Nunley was such a help for you, wasn't he?
Oh, he was. He was a one of a kind. I could count on him to do anything, and he would make sure it got done correctly too.
And as a result of his coaching back in the 70s, it never really escaped him. He always loved the coaching. He loved working with the kids. So when he came back over and was helping you, that was just a tremendous asset.
It was amazing. I could walk in. He may have a kid down working a chicken wing, and I'd turn my head, and he'd have a kid in a double egg. So you never knew what to expect with him.
Well, I know one thing. Having had the opportunity of working with him, he was such a dedicated person in coaching of wrestling and what it meant to him and what he wanted it to mean to the kids who wrestled for him.
Right. Not only Edison, but the entire Tulsa area. He was big and really pushing wrestling.
Well, Jim, I want to wish you the very best of luck, and hopefully this year we'll get to watch you wrestle.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Stay with us here on Inside Tulsa Athletics. When we come back, Eli Brown, who's the head boys basketball coach at Central High School, he'll come aboard and we'll talk about the Central Braves. That's coming up Inside Tulsa Athletics.
Are you suffering from stuff? Stuff you don't know how to get rid of? Go to TulsaRefuse.org. Learn how to get rid of stuff easily and properly. TulsaRefuse.org. Just give us a click. It's that simple. Stuff. When you don't want it, what do you do with it? Go to TulsaRefuse.org. There, you'll learn what to do with stuff you don't know what to do with. Just give us a click. TulsaRefuse.org. It's what you do when you don't know what to do with stuff.
Welcome back to Inside Tulsa Athletics as we welcome aboard Eli Brown, who is the head boys basketball coach at Central High School, as well as an assistant athletic director. And Eli, always a pleasure having you aboard.
It's always great to be here with you, JD.
And you know, as we look at things right now, into the football playoffs, basketball just around the corner.
I'm ready.
Now, my first question, how was your summer program and how was the practice during the September, October area for the kids coming along?
First of all, the summer was very productive. I think we grew leaps and bounds this summer. We had a really good summer league and team camp at Tulsa University. I think that our kids are finally starting to understand that they're a year older. We were young last year. We're still sort of young, only 3 seniors right now. But it was very productive this summer. We got in the weight room. We worked out with our track coach, Coach Al Taffer. And so we really became more explosive and better conditioned. And then in October, when we started practicing, it all just kind of culminated into guys wanting to utilize that new strength and that new explosiveness. And we also began practicing at 6 a.m. So it was
6 in the morning.
Yes, 6 in the morning, and everybody was showing up. So that I wanted to do that because I wanted to try to instill some discipline in our kids, and also let those kids know that when you have a job to do, if they tell you to be there at 5, 6, 7, or 8, you got to be there, and you got to be there on time, ready to work. And it has changed our kids.
I can imagine that would actually. Now then, when you look back, had you ever done this before?
No, sir, I haven't.
But you'll do it again.
I will, most certainly, yes.
You know, when bringing them in like that, they weren't missing?
No, because it was a 2-part thing. So they were not missing. First of all, because they really wanted to be there, and they really wanted to be a part of something special. The second part of that was they knew if they missed, there were some consequences if they missed those practices, and we call them wall touches. And so we don't go baseline to baseline. We go wall to wall in the gym. So and the time is still the same though. So and they were an hour and a half practices in the morning. So that's 105 minutes. So if you missed, you had 105 wall touches, and they didn't want to do that.
No, I don't think they would. All right, now, Eli, as we look at it now, getting ready for the scrimmage games, getting ready for the real games, has that really been a great asset for your kids?
Yes, because they're more disciplined now, and they're more focused on the details of the game and what we've been trying to teach them. And the scrimmages have been productive. We scrimmaged Broken Arrow last week. Right now, we have so many kids in football right now. We just got them back, but those kids who was there early in October have really set the bar for the football players. So in our scrimmages, they've been productive, and today we have union, so we'll see if we can continue that. Now we have our football players back. They still have to get their legs up under them, but they're back and they're hungry and ready to go.
You know, I always wonder when we talk about a new team, do you have good guards as well as some good inside people, some post people?
Well, you know, I wish we had legitimate bigs. We have some kids with some length, 6'6", 6'7". However, those kids are guards. So we do try to do some things to get some inside looks, but most of our offense comes from our defense, and it also comes from us staying aggressive and trying to get on the rim.
So you're going to be a transition basketball team.
Absolutely.
And do the kids enjoy that?
They love that. You know, our philosophy is, part of our philosophy in offense is we want to score within 12 seconds of getting the ball. We don't want to allow the defense to set up. We want to try to attack the rim and make sure that we put pressure on the defense to guard us and get back in transition.
Now, you were telling me before we came on the air about your early scrimmages and and your early games. Kind of tell our audience, because you are really trying to get the kids against people that are good. As a result, they will become better.
Oh yeah, you know, so scrimmage in Broken Arrow and Union and Collinsville, Summit Christian, Metro Christian, those teams are all well coached. Those coaches have their systems in play, and those systems are very good. So we want to make sure that we get a different look of different styles too, contrasting styles, so that we can play against a team that's going to zone us, a team that's going to play pack line defense, also against a team that also wants to press and run a little bit. So we try to get all those looks in before we start, so that when we do start, we are ready in all aspects and all phases of the game.
Now, Eli, you are 4 or 5A?
We are 4A. We're still 4A.
You're 4A. And now you're scrimmaging these very good 6A teams. So that will bring your young men along.
Right.
Where you really want them.
Right, you know, so scrimmage in those bigger schools, they have more kids, and they also have a lot of talent at those schools, so it gives us a really good challenge. So if we step up to the bar against those schools, we know we can compete in our own conference and also in our own classification. But 4A is tough. There's some schools in 4A that could compete against 6A schools and also can, you know, handle their own in 4A as well.
Well, Eli, we want to wish you the very best of luck. And
thank you.
I know one thing, I think those Central Braves will be ready to play, and I look forward to watching you.
Sure thing. I appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
Stay with us on Inside Tulsa Athletics. More coming up. As a matter of fact, we're going to visit with Daniel McChesney. He's the head basketball coach at Hale High School when we come back right after this.
Are you suffering from stuff? Stuff you don't know how to get rid of? Go to TulsaRefuse.org. Learn how to get rid of stuff easily and properly. TulsaRefuse.org. Just give us a click. It's that simple.
Welcome back to Inside Tulsa Athletics as we welcome aboard the head boys basketball coach at Hale High School, Daniel McChesney. And Daniel, when we take a look at what has happened with basketball, it is on us, and it has happened quickly, hasn't it?
It has. We Hale had a few rough years, but the last head coach that just left, he left us in a good spot, and I'm excited, proud to take over there. We got a lot of talent coming back this year, and it should be a fun year.
Well, kind of talk about some of your players and those that you feel like will be a great contribution to the Hale basketball team.
We have a interesting group because a lot of our guys haven't had much varsity time. They graduated 6 seniors last year. And so I think that it's going to be fun to watch. We have 6 or 7 deep that on any given night could have a really great night. So it'd kind of be like throwing a dart right now to try to pick one to tell you. We got a good group of seniors, Demetrius Kane, Julian Fuel, Austin Evans that should give us some good minutes. And then there's a lot of juniors, Cardell Simmons and Denzel Tyson, to name a couple that same. So we on any given night, you never know who it could be. Should be exciting.
Daniel, kind of give us a little background of you. This is your first year at Nathan Hale High School, and but yet you've had a lot of years in coaching and in basketball.
Yeah, this is my 7th year with Tulsa Public Schools. I started out at Thoreau Demonstration Academy. I coached a lot of things there. I wore a lot of hats, coached track, basketball, football. For the last 4 years, I've been at Will Rogers as the assistant coach there and JV coach. And so this will be my first head coaching job and my first year at Nathan Hale.
Well, I know when you get that first head coaching job, it's really exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, it felt great. It felt like it's something I'd been working for. I wanted to get a head coaching job inside TPS. I like coaching in TPS. I like the student bodies and the schools, and so I was happy that the right job came open, that I could stay in Tulsa.
During the summer, what did you do with the kids during the summer?
Well, we had a kind of a rough start to the summer because I got the job so late. We weren't able to get into any camps or anything like that. But we opened the gym almost every day, and we let them get up there and play and scrimmage, get a lot of shots up, try to develop some of our skills over the summer. And so we had a much bigger turnout than I originally anticipated over the summer. So hopefully next year we'll be able to get into a few summer leagues and camps to improve a little bit more.
Talk about your schedule.
We have a good schedule. I think our schedule builds nicely for us. We start out the season with a lot of TPS games and a tournament in December. We go to the Tahlequah Invitational in December, and that'll be a good tournament for us. Hale won that tournament last year, and so I think there's some expectations going back in it, both for our players and fans, and so that'll be a fun and exciting tournament to go to. And then in January, we go to the Fort Gibson tournament, which is always loaded with talent and will be a good measuring stick for us. And then we really get into the meat of our schedule. In January, we run into some of these big-time 5A programs in Tulsa, Memorial, Edison, East Central. And every year in Tulsa Public, there's going to be tough matchups on every night, no matter who you're playing. So it ought to be a fun year, exciting schedule, and I'm looking forward to it.
You know, you bring out something there that I think a lot of people don't just truly understand how difficult it is. But when you're playing within the Tulsa Public Schools, you're playing 6A teams, you're playing 5A teams, you're playing 4A teams, and as a result, when the kids get on through there, I mean, they've got to be good players in order to progress.
Absolutely. I mean, you kind of get battle tested through your conference, and it's a double-edged sword because sometimes it can affect your record a little bit and it doesn't look kindly. But then when playoff comes, I mean, you've played about as good as you're going to play all year, and so you should be prepared for those big-time games and playoff atmospheres.
Daniel, it seems like every year that in coaching that there will be one player, two players, sometimes three players that come aboard that you didn't expect to be where they are. Do you have any of those this year that you're expecting a lot more out of than maybe in the beginning? Hey, I didn't think they were going to be there, but they are now.
Yeah, we have an interesting a group this year because we have a lot of first-year players that are upperclassmen that, for whatever reason, circumstances, haven't actually played on a team before. Some transferred in, some were at Hale and just hadn't played before. So this will be their first year to play organized basketball. So the beginning of the year might be a little rough for them, but they're athletic, they're eager, they're good kids, they're hungry to learn. And so by the end of the year, they're guys that I could really see contributing quite a bit.
You know, you said something there that I think is so important and so significant for a successful team, and that's when the kids are wanting to learn, wanting to get better, and will do what they're asked to do over and over, repetition, and they will become better. And you're finding that now.
Yeah, it's been a process. You know, anytime a new coach comes in, they kind of have to lay the foundation for their culture and what they want to do with the program. But the group that I've had has been really eager. They're got some good leadership on the team, some guys that have been through it a little bit, and so we've slowly began to build that culture over the last few months. It's been a good start.
Do you feel like the kids are excited and confident about playing the schedule that they have?
Absolutely. That's a big part of my coaching philosophy is we're going to be confident. We're going to play anybody, anywhere, and we're going to be confident that we can compete with them. And hopefully that some of that rubs off on them, and they have that same confidence and air about them that win, lose, or draw, we know that we can play with anybody, and we're going to put our best out there every night.
Daniel, I want to wish you the best of luck. Enjoyed having you aboard, and win them all.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Stay with us as Tony Daniels, the athletic director and head football coach at Edison High School, our next guest on Inside Tulsa Athletics.
Stuff. When you don't want it, what do you do with it? Go to TulsaRefuse.org. There, you'll learn what to do with stuff you don't know what to do with. Just give us a click. TulsaRefuse.org. It's what you do when you don't know what to do with stuff.
My dad's always saying a little extra effort now will really pay off later. Here's how you can put in just a little extra effort and help out our schools in a big way. Just switch your checking account to TTCU. It's easy, and every time you use your school pride card, TTCU donates to our schools. So far, over $1 million. They're the only ones doing that. So make the switch to TTCU and be the person who's making a difference for our schools.
Welcome back to Inside Tulsa Athletics as we welcome aboard Tony Daniels, the athletic director and head football coach at Edison High School. And Tony, when we take a look at what is going on, the season has passed so quickly. And for you to start out 0-3, and now you are 6-4, that's got to be a very rewarding year.
Absolutely. I think those non-district games, everybody kind of gets into those, you know, how well you do, how well you're performing. For us, it was just it was learning. You know, we have a new offensive coordinator from the previous season. We have a new offensive line coach. We got some new things that we're trying to work in and fit in and get into our scheme. And I think it was a learning experience. You want to get better each week when we play. We have done that. We want to minimize turnovers, minimize penalties. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing that we did starting in Game 4, starting in district play.
When you take a look at some of the kids, Talk about some of them that have really come along, that maybe when you were losing those first 3 games, they weren't where you wanted them, but now they are getting closer to being the type of player you wanted.
Well, a couple. We have Trey Richards. He's come on these last couple of games for us, has been Offensive Player of the Week, has done really good these last couple of weeks. But probably the biggest one I want to talk about is Louis Perona. Louis Perona's been quarterback. He stepped in his very first game, high school football career, to start at Bishop Kelly. And we're 1-0 in district at that time, and we're beating Bishop Kelly at halftime, 20-17. And starting in the fourth quarter, we're down 24-20, and we're still within being able to score and be able to still go up, or at least get closer. And Perona's done a really good job of managing the game and being able to catch the ball and turn around and hand it off to Savion Morrison, who's 2,636 yards, 37 total touchdowns, has just come on, for us real big. But Perona has dealt the ball out to some different players, has thrown some good footballs for us, and has just done a really good job managing the game.
Well, I'll tell you, when that happens, you and your staff have to be satisfied with the hard work that you put in with those kids.
Right. I think that it just shows the hard work that they've done. We start our off season with powerlifting last year and teaching the core values, and some of these kids that are seniors, that we just had senior week this last week with Ada. I mean, those kids have been in the program now going on, finishing up their 3rd year, and those kids have started since I got here in my first year being here. So they know the scheme of things, they know what I expect, they know the expectations and our core values of the football team.
Well, recently in the paper it was brought out the fact that even though you are 6-4, what you have done the last 7 games, that if there is a dark horse, that you could be that dark horse.
Yeah, the social media, is a lot different from when I was even in high school to where everything is now. But, I see that, and I see people tagging us on it, and, the football program, social media, all that. So I just think that it's just one of those things that we got to take it. Our mentality since district has been 1-0. Find a way to finish 1-0 at the end of each night, and get better, during the week each day. But it's dark horse, favorite, whatever it may be, we just got to go out and we just got to finish 1-0.
When you take a look at the bracket, Ardmore 10-0, Carl Albert 10-0, Collinsville 10-0. That looks to me like up and down the line that the 5A bracket this year about as tough as it could get.
Very tough. You look at some of those, and Collinsville being on the other side, finishing first, and a couple of the other teams finishing out. You got Tahlequah, I believe that was 9-1 in the other district. So it's keeping up with some of those throughout the season, and even with Bishop Kelly and everybody in our district. I mean, it turned out very well for us, and watching the other teams play and doing what they do. It's going to be a tough road, but we take it game by game.
Tony, what has been the attitude of the kids now? I know when you started out 0-3, now there's no way that what they were kind of having some negative thoughts, but now you've started to win and you're getting into this situation, into the state playoffs. What is the overall attitude of the players?
The attitude is finish. I mean, it's physical, tough. First couple of years, we didn't know how to finish a football game. We didn't know by going up how to finish an opponent. So by teaching, finishing and teaching just those core values that we spoke about, I think that the kids are on a high right now. I mean, they know that when they get out there and they can play, and they know how to finish football games, and we hadn't been able to do that before.
Well, I want to wish you the very best of luck, and we're going to be watching you play and just surprise a lot of more people.
Thank you for having me.
Stay with us on Inside Tulsa Athletics. When we come back, we're going to visit with Brad Calip, athletic director and head football coach at Booker T. Washington High School. That's next, Inside Tulsa Athletics.
Are you suffering from stuff? Stuff you don't know how to get rid of? Go to TulsaRefuse.org. Learn how to get rid of stuff easily and properly. TulsaRefuse.org. Just give us a click. It's that simple.
We continue inside Tulsa Athletics as we welcome aboard the head football coach as well as athletic director at Booker T. Washington High School, Brad Calip. And Brad, when we take a look at what is happening, and it just doesn't seem possible that 10 games are gone. The big game of the year, always the first game of the state tournament. Give us your opinion.
It's here. You hit it right on the head. The season went by very fast, and now we're in the playoffs. And this is what we always kind of look forward to there at Booker T, playing in November, December, and it's here. So we're excited, and we're ready to get it started.
Well, now you are 7-3. You play Dell City. They are 7-3. And then there's Stillwater and Muskogee in your half of the bracket. That's tough 4 teams, isn't it?
Yes. When you narrow it down to, the top 8, it get really challenging at this moment. And like I said, kind of weed out the lesser opponent and you get to the good opponents. I think we got a good draw. We got Dell City, who has been in the past a 5A team, and now they're 6A2, very talented, and we can get by them. Our next opponent will probably Stillwater, who is playing very well. So we're looking forward to challenge to Dell City, a great team, a team going to come to Booker T with a lot of speed and size, and so they match up very well with us.
And you look down in the bottom half of that bracket, Bixby, Lawton, Midwest City, Sapulpa. That is a tough 8-team bracket.
It doesn't get easy. It doesn't get easy, and I told my kids, yesterday we met. The next 3 games, you just gotta peak at the right time. And I think we're picking at the right time, and you can't have injuries, and you got to have luck. So all those 3 got to come accordingly to win a state championship. And fortunately, we did it last year, and we peaked at the right time. And the state championship last year against Bixby, we were down 2 possessions and came back, had some luck, some key catches, and to capture the state championship last year. So same thing got to happen this year. So our kids are ready and fired up and ready to go.
I think it's interesting, and looking at the bracket, Stillwater comes in 10-0. Have they played a schedule like you played and like Bixby has played, like Midwest City has played?
I don't think so. We looked at their bracket yesterday, and they not even close to the non-district games that we have played, and so that might kind of catch them at the end. But when you get to this point, everybody's 0-0, and you start over, and like I said, it's going to be challenging. I'm not taking anything away from Stillwater or any other Dale City, but there are some good teams, and like I said, you got to play every week, and you got to put 3 weeks to play well to win it, and you just hit it right on the head that there's 3 weeks of very, very tough opponents. So we're going to have to play well for 3 weeks to win it.
Gentry Williams, freshman quarterback. He's 4-0 as a freshman quarterback, and he's getting better every game.
Yes, he is. He's a kid that I always got to remind myself, during the game, the kid is 14 years old, but he's an incredible athlete. He's a kid that's getting better every week. People don't realize that, he runs a 47.8 in the 400, so he's probably the fastest kid on the field beside Dax Hill, and he's figuring that out now. So with him, I think we got a great chance to win it all, and because he's a kid that you can't spy. Nobody can spy. Even 6'1", you cannot spy on him, and so that's something that's going to give defense fits. So I'm pretty excited to see what he does the next 3 weeks.
Some of the other kids that are going on into major college play, talk about them, and have they been the contributors that you've expected them to be?
Yeah, we got Dax Hill, who committed to Michigan, been playing outstanding on both sides of the ball, offense and defense. We got Bug Johnson, who've been playing extremely well. the one who really been stepping it up is Thomas Grayson, running back. The last 3 weeks he has been running with an attitude. So it's come together, and we've been plagued with injuries during the year. I was just thinking yesterday, we started out the beginning of the year with our offensive line, and we had some injuries. And last week was the first time that we got our offensive line back. So good things happened to us. So we're kind of peaking at the right time, and we're getting everybody back at the right time. So we're going to see what happens, the next couple of weeks.
And when that can occur, that really makes you feel good as a coach, to right down now to where the most important part of the year, and you get all your kids back in good health. And those kids who have been injured, they want to play hard now, don't they?
Oh, yes. Yes.
So, well, listen, we want to wish you the very best of luck. We're going to be watching you, and bring home another gold ball, okay?
We want to bring it back to the north side.
Stay with us on Inside Tulsa Athletics. We're going to visit with Gil Cloud, Oklahoma's secondary school activity updates, as well as some of the other things that's going on in the Tulsa Public Schools. We're back in just a moment.
Stuff. When you don't want it, what do you do with it? Go to TulsaRefuse.org. There, you'll learn what to do with stuff you don't know what to do with. Just give us a click. TulsaRefuse.org. It's what you do when you don't know what to do with stuff.
Welcome back to Inside Tulsa Athletics, as we welcome aboard the Director of Athletics for the Tulsa Public Schools, Gil Cloud. And Gil, when we take a look at what has happened, it seemed like fall sports went so quickly. Winter sports is here.
Can't believe week 10 has already gone and come, and now we're into playoff football and our scrimmages in basketball. We've already had a swim meet down, and wrestling is just about 2 weeks away. So it's one of those times of the year where you're excited for your football teams that qualified for the playoffs, but you're also excited for the winter sports and all the student athletes that are involved in that. And we have a lot of things going on right now.
And I think a lot of people don't realize that, but there is a lot of interest as one season changes, another one comes in. But I think it's going to be fun watching those two football teams to see just exactly, can Booker T. Washington bring back the gold ball?
I know back-to-back would be tough. They don't have as good a record as they did a year ago, but they played a tougher schedule.
Yes, they did.
The two games out of the state that they played marquee teams there, and they gave them 2 losses. They started this year 1-2, and who would have thought they end up 7-3 and district runner-up. I think it's going to be an interesting 6A2 battle. I think because of the balance in 6A2. You look at Bixby, who has a really, really good football team. Stillwater with Mike Gundy. Little Gundy's the quarterback, yes, throwing the ball all over the place. And Ardmore. Ardmore's in 5A. And then you've got, Edison, who has won 6 in a row here at the end to get in and host. So for Edison and Booker T. both to host, we're excited for those schools. And especially Edison, because they came 3 years ago 1-9, and they go to qualifying for the playoffs in 3 years. So we're excited about them.
And what excites me about Edison is the fact that they lost the first 2 games.
Yes.
And then they have come back and just played great. And I thought in the paper it mentioned the fact that sometimes a team like that surprises everybody in the state playoffs.
They just got better and better.
Yes.
And of course, I think Savon Morrison, his ability to gain yardage obviously has helped them. And I know they opened with Claremore. Claremore beat them in the last 30 seconds with a field goal, second game of the season. So I'm sure they're looking forward to the rematch.
That's going to be a good matchup.
I talked to Coach Calip, and of course he was on earlier today, and Del City has had a good football program for a long time.
Yes.
So that'll be a good matchup. But the great thing is we're playing at home in both those contests.
Well, we take a look at that, and winter sports coming on. Gil, it's just it's exciting at this time of the year.
We've got scrimmages all over the city with our basketball team, both boys and girls. I think our numbers are up in basketball participation. Junior high basketball starts this week with games. We've got games every day of the week this week in one of our facilities. So, that's really a great time, I think, to engage our students and our student athletes to be involved in going to the games and come to the gym at night or the stadium on Friday night and be a part of something. And I think this winter is really going to be, I think, basketball-wise, we've got a great chance to be really good.
It just seems to me like, Gil, that when we came into football this year, everyone was so excited. I was excited, and the games were so good. We had some great ones, then we had some blowouts. But in the end, and then as basketball comes, gosh, it's good to be in athletics.
It really is. It seemed like with the start of the season, hope springs eternal every time, And one of the great things I think about being an athletic director is that you don't have an off season. When you're coaching, you go to off season. We don't have an off season in our office. We go from one to the other, and people say, "What do you do in the summer?" Well, in the summer, we're planning for what we're going to do throughout the entire year, selling our advertising and getting our corporate partners together so the fundraising is in place. So, it's there's no off season for us in athletic administration.
You know what it's like to me? Having been an athletic director, it's like being a head coach, because everything that comes about, you are very interested in it. It means a lot to you. You're putting everything you can into it to make it a successful. So, my goodness.
It was interesting today. I've been redoing our job descriptions for people in our office to bring them up to date. And when I looked at mine, it said the person needs to be able to do multiple tasks at many, many hours during the day. Well, that's an understatement.
That's absolutely
We
right.
might have 4 or 5 things going on in an hour, that we've got to respond to. And I think what we try to do is we try to do what's best for the student athlete. And when you have that as your basis for decision making, then I think you're going to be in pretty good shape.
Gil, overall, are you satisfied and maybe excited about what's going to happen with winter sports?
Oh, yeah. I think we have some really good coaches in place. We can talk about it in the next segment, but I really believe that they're really the quality of coach that we have been able to attract over the past 5 or 6 years has really been impressive. I mean, we have guys and gals that have stepped in and truly care about our student athletes, which is very important. But they know the sport. They're able to make those game plans up and everything. And so I feel really, really good about especially our basketball coaches.
Well, I know one thing in visiting with the coaches, it is always so gratifying to know how sincere they are about doing a good job, helping the kids, promoting them if they go on. We're about to run out of time on this segment. Stay around, because when we come back, we want to talk about what is going to happen with special events during the winter.
Sounds good to me.
Stay with us. We're coming right back right after this.
My dad's always saying a little extra effort now will really pay off later. Here's how you can put in just a little extra effort and help out our schools in a big way. Just switch your checking account to TTCU. It's easy, and every time you use your school pride card, TTCU donates to our schools. So far, over $1 million. They're the only ones doing that. So make the switch to TTCU and be the person who's making a difference for our schools.
Are you suffering from stuff? Stuff you don't know how to get rid of? Go to TulsaRefuse.org. Learn how to get rid of stuff easily and properly. TulsaRefuse.org. Just give us a click. It's that simple.
Welcome back to Inside Tulsa Athletics as we continue visiting with Gil Cloud, Director of Athletics for the Tulsa Public Schools. And Gil, we take a look at what's going to happen during the winter months that affects so much of athletics, but it all kicks off with the Tournament of Champions.
It really is. The special events that we have that we run through the district office are really essential to our fundraising for the year. And what we're able to do for all the schools, our 20 secondary schools that we have, the 9 high schools and the 11 middle schools, really has set the tone by the All-City football, the Tournament of Champions basketball, the Hall of Fame banquet, and then, of course, our golf tournament that we have in June. But looking at Tournament of Champions this year, I got to tell you, every year we say this is as good as it can be. And then the next year we come up with some of the great teams in the state of Oklahoma. I was telling somebody earlier this morning that we've already had people calling for next year.
Oh, sure.
That want to get in next year in the 2019 tournament. But we're excited about it. I think Coach Wilson has done a good job, Mick, in my office to go find the kinds of teams that we've got to have that will be exciting to play. 27, 28, 29 of December at the Mabee Center. It starts at 9 o'clock in the morning and we finish about 11 o'clock at night. And there are 8 games a day with 2 sessions each day. There'll be a season ticket that will be on sale. And basically, it's you only pay about 2/3 of what you would pay, and those go on sale up until the Friday before we start, and then it's regular price after that. We've got a press conference scheduled for December the 5th at the Marriott, which is the host hotel, where we bring the teams in, and that's the first time they know what their pairings are. And it's really kind of funny because everybody knows who's in the tournament, but they don't know who they're playing until they get that bracket. And last year, I'll never forget, one of the coach from out west came up and he looked at his bracket and he said, my gosh. And he went over to Mick and he said, Mick, how come I have to play them? He said, well, who would you rather play? And he looked at it and said, I'm okay with that. Because who are you going to play? They're all good.
Yes.
They're all good. So that's a great tournament and really a great experience for kids to come to Tulsa, and we love to host people when they come to Tulsa, and so it's a good thing. And then in January, an event that I know you've been intricately involved in with us since the start is our Hall of Fame. It'll be our 7th annual Hall of Fame induction banquet, and JV, every year it gets better.
Yes, it
seems
does.
Like we learn how to do a little bit better every year, but the inductees this year, one of the keynote folks we have coming in, Kevin Pritchard. He played at Edison, played at the University of Kansas, and now is the general manager of the Indiana Pacers in the NBA. And we've tried for 2 years to get him to come in. And 2 years ago, it was really funny. Larry Bird owned the Indiana Pacers at that time, and they were struggling a little bit. And he had to cancel because he said, I think if I'm going to be gone for 2 days, that Larry Bird may fire me. But he said, I've got it on my schedule. I'm going to be there. So, and Jim Shoulders, 17-time world champion rodeo cowboy. My goodness, it's amazing. And you just go through the list, and we'll talk about it as we get closer to that time. And then really a great event for our student athletes is the BOK Showcase. Came on this thing about 5 years ago when the BOK was down there, and kind of a dead time sometimes in February for concerts and that type of thing. And so we met with Jeff Nickler and his crew, and they were excited about it. They're still excited about it, and we've got 8 games on the 2nd of February. We'll be releasing those pairings here probably in December with them, but my gosh, it's going to be a great day. And what epitomizes that, I think, to be able to play in a facility, which is an NBA style facility.
Oh, yes.
There's no question, it's first class. We had a little girl in our student athlete advisory group about 3 years ago, and she was from Booker T. And we were going around the table, and the seniors were saying, what are the most meaningful things that have happened to you during your career here in TPS playing athletics? And this one little girl said, well, I can't be any better than this. We played in the Tournament of Champions, we played in the state tournament, and we played in the BOK Showcase. So that's a
it.
career right there, you know, to be able to play in those venues and have success in those venues. So, but those are opportunities that we're really excited for our kids to be able to play, like in the BOK.
Well, you know, when you talk to kids that have that opportunity, that is really, again, goes back to what athletics is all about. That is a experience that they will have all of their life, that they'll be talking about it.
JV, we're building a lifetime of memories.
Yes.
I mean, high school athletics, because 99% of those student athletes, that's the last time they play, where anybody will pay to watch them play. And, you know, so let's make it special. I think it needs to be special. You know, these are special kids, and they sacrifice a lot of times that you know, while other kids go home or have jobs, they have to go to practice. You know, they miss out on some things. So if we can make it special, I think that's important for us.
You know, I think it's interesting because periodically I will run into a person who played several years ago, and they will come up and say, you know, I wished we could have played in the Tournament of Champions. Just wish we could have been out there just for 1 year. And what's going on down at the BOK Classic, that's the same thing. Those kids will remember it forever.
Oh, yeah.
Especially those who played, and those who didn't play, they'll want to have played.
Right, exactly. But they can buy a ticket and come watch if they're not playing.
That's absolutely true. Well, anything else in the winter that is really going to be
No, I
special?
think that those are the big things. I think we will host again, I'm sure, for the OSSAA. They always ask us to provide our facilities for neutral site games after the area tournament and so on. And so we're glad to do that as members of the OSSA. And that's great because that brings people to our campus. And, you know, people, they hear a lot about Tulsa, and they don't know about Tulsa, and they come, and we try to make them feel really good. Hey, this is Tulsa Public Schools. They know what they're doing, and they have great facilities. And again, it goes back to our patrons who have voted on bond issues for us to be able to have the kind of facilities that we do have. And people talk about being in the arms race and not having things. I tell you what, you look around TPS, and our facilities are really, really good.
And you want to once again invite people this Friday night to the 2 football games as our with Memorial and Booker T. Washington.
Kick off at
advancing.
7 o'clock at SC Williams. It'll be Booker T in Dell City, and 7 o'clock at La Fortune Stadium with the Edison Eagles and the Claremore Zebras.
And I tell you for sure, that is something that the kids, it'll be with them forever, and as a fan, it will be forever with us.
Playoffs you never forget about.
That's right. Stay with us. More coming up on Inside Tulsa Athletics right after this.
Are you suffering from stuff? Stuff you don't know how to get rid of? Go to TulsaRefuse.org. Learn how to get rid of stuff easily and properly. TulsaRefuse.org. Just give us a click. It's that simple.
Thanks for being with us today on Inside Tulsa Athletics, and we certainly want to encourage you to get out and support the Tulsa Public Schools and their athletic programs, both boys and girls, and they need your help. And this is something that I think that we really need to be very conscious of, that when these young people are out there, they need someone that is going to support them. So wherever you went to high school, if whatever high school is close with you, I think it would be great if you would get out and support those kids, because it is important. And we'll see you again in 2 weeks.